The old Jeep rumbled, struggling to make it up the last hill. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. I peered through the dusty windshield at the imposing structure looming in the distance, the Wayside Inn. A shiver ran down my spine. I had heard the stories, a place lost in time, filled with whispers of tragic romance and restless spirits. I wasn't sure what I believed, but the inn's eerie presence was undeniable. The moment I stepped out of the car, a cold wind whipped around him. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient and unseen. My gut twisted with a feeling of unease. I grabbed his bag, a strange pull drawing me towards the inn's entrance. As I pushed open the creaking door, a musty odor wafted out, the smell of forgotten years. The air inside was stagnant, thick with an almost palpable silence. I stepped inside, the floorboards groaning under my weight. I was alone, yet the sensation of being watched pricked at the back of my neck. The interior of the Wayside Inn was like stepping back in time. Faded grandeur clung to the dusty chandeliers and threadbare velvet curtains. Cobwebs draped the corners like macabre decorations. I ran a hand along the cracked surface of the check-in desk. A thick layer of dust coated their fingers. I coughed, the sound echoing in the oppressive silence. I felt a pressure building in their ears, a strange energy crackling in the air. I wandered through the deserted lobby, drawn by an unseen force. Portraits of stern-faced individuals lined the walls, their eyes seemingly following my every move. I imagined their lives, their stories, wondering if I too felt trapped within these aging walls. I stopped before a large, tarnished mirror. My reflection stared back, pale and drawn. But for a fleeting moment, I could have sworn I saw another figure reflected beside me. A fleeting glimpse of a woman with flowing dark hair and eyes filled with a profound sadness. I blinked and she was gone. Later that night, I sat in the dimly lit corner of the inn's bar. The bartender, a grizzled old man named Silas, his voice a gravelly whisper, recounted the story of the Wayside Inn. "This place," Silas began, his eyes flickering towards the darkened hallway, "he's seen a lot of sorrow, a lot of love, lost too soon." He spoke of a young couple, Emily and Edward, who had fallen deeply in love within these very walls. Their families, however, were bitter rivals, forbidding their union. One stormy night, Emily, dressed in her finest white gown, waited for Edward in the inn's tower room. He promised to elope with her. She waited all night, but Edward never arrived. Silas paused, his gaze fixed on me. "They say Edward's carriage crashed in the storm, that he died on his way to her." But Emily refused to believe it. She waited for him, year after year, until the day she died, still clinging to the hope of his return. I lay in bed, the heavy velvet curtains drawn tight against the inky blackness. Sleep wouldn't come. Silas's story echoed in his mind. I could almost hear the phantom strains of music, laughter, and the soft murmur of voices from a forgotten era. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Each gust seemed to carry faint whispers, unintelligible murmurs that sent shivers down my spine. Then a distinct sound cut through the silence, a woman sobbing. I sat up, heart pounding. The sound seemed to be coming from the hallway outside my room. I threw back the covers and crept towards the door. My hand trembled as he reached for the doorknob. The sobbing grew louder, filled with an unbearable grief. Section 5. Cold Embrace. I threw open the door. The hallway was empty, bathed in the pale light of the moon filtering through the grimy window at the far end. But the sobbing continued, echoing around me. I took a tentative step into the hallway, my bare feet chilled by the icy floorboards. A cold spot settled in the center of my chest, a bone-deep chill that seemed to seep into my very core. I turned towards the source of the sobbing, my blood turning to ice. At the end of the hallway, bathed in moonlight, stood the silhouette of a woman. She was translucent, her form shimmering like heat haze. Her long dark hair cascaded down her back, and she wore a white gown that seemed to flow around her like mist. The woman turned, and I found myself staring into a pair of eyes filled with an immeasurable sadness. An icy hand reached out, and I felt a chill grip my wrist. Section 6. The Lady in White. I recoiled, yanking my hand away. The spectral figure vanished as quickly as it appeared. I stood there, heart racing, the echo of the woman's sorrow lingering in the air. I knew then with chilling certainty that I had encountered the ghost of Emily. I spent the rest of the night huddled in the armchair in my room, too terrified to sleep. The image of the woman in white, her sorrowful eyes, her icy touch, was seared into my mind. The next morning I sought out Silas, desperate for answers. The old man listened patiently, a knowing look in his eyes. "You've seen her then," Silas said, nodding slowly. "She doesn't mean any harm, she's just lost, searching for something she can never have." Section 7. A Promise Unkept. Silas revealed more of Emily's story. He told me about a hidden compartment in the fireplace of the tower room where Emily kept a bundle of love letters, Edward's letters. Silas believed that Emily's spirit was tethered to the inn, unable to find peace because she never received confirmation of Edward's fate. I, compelled by a mixture of fear and pity, knew what I had to do. I would find Edward's final resting place, learn the truth of his demise, and finally bring closure to Emily's restless spirit. I spent days researching local archives, poring over old newspapers and death records. Finally, I found it, a small article detailing the carriage accident that claimed the life of Edward on the night he was supposed to meet Emily. He had been on his way to the inn, a letter to Emily clutched in his hand. The letter, the article said, was never recovered. Armed with the truth, I returned to the Wayside Inn. I climbed the creaking stairs to the tower room, my heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and dread. As I knelt before the old fireplace, my fingers found the hidden compartment Silas had described. Inside, nestled amongst a pile of decaying wood, lay a leather-bound journal. I carefully lifted it, his fingers brushing against a tarnished silver locket. I opened the journal. The pages were filled with Edward's elegant script, each word a testament to his love for Emily. The final entry, dated the day of his death, made my throat tighten. Edward wrote of his unwavering love for Emily, his plans to defy their families and elope with her that very night. He vowed to love her forever. I clutched the journal to his chest. I had found Edward's final message, the proof that Emily had longed for all those years. But now I had to find a way to communicate this to her. I returned to the hallway, my eyes searching for any sign of Emily. "Emily!" I called out, my voice echoing in the silence. "I know the truth about Edward. He loved you. He was coming for you." A cold spot formed in the hallway and the air grew heavy. I felt a presence beside him. I didn't need to turn to know that Emily was there. He held out the journal and the locket. "He never stopped loving you, Emily. He died on his way to meet you." The air crackled with energy, the temperature plummeted. The spectral figure of Emily shimmered before me. Her translucent hand, as cold as ice, reached out and touched the journal. I watched as a single tear rolled down Emily's cheek, the spectral tear shimmering like a diamond before dissolving into mist. A low, mournful sob echoed through the hallway. It was a sound filled with centuries of pain and longing, now laced with a hint of peace. The locket in my hand grew warm. I opened it. Inside was a miniature portrait of Edward. He was handsome, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. I looked up. Emily was gone. The hallway was empty, but the air felt lighter. The oppressive atmosphere lifted. I stood alone in the silent hallway, the weight of Emily's centuries-old heartache still heavy on my heart. I had borne witness to a love story cut tragically short, a love that had endured even beyond the veil of death. I left the journal and the locket in the tower room, a final tribute to Emily and Edward's enduring love. As I walked away from the Wayside Inn, I couldn't shake the feeling that Emily was finally at peace. I realized that sometimes, even in the face of unimaginable loss and sorrow, love had the power to transcend the boundaries of life and death. I had come to the Wayside Inn seeking answers, but I left with a profound understanding of the enduring power of love and the importance of letting go. The Wayside Inn would forever hold the echoes of Emily and Edward's love story, a haunting reminder that some bonds could never be broken, even by death itself.